So take a second to think. What is the motto of every single company and social media brand nowadays? And what is promoted? Bigger, better, faster, stronger. These are the ideals that social media promotes, whether you like it or not. Add a bit of more of this, add more of that, just a little bit more here, a little bit more there. The focus is on creating a surplus all the time. And in this world, the bigger, better, faster, stronger are rewarded with more views, more engagement, more followers, and therefore more money. And this is the reality of social media today. But while you're being bombarded with the surplus of unrealistic standards, the opposite is happening behind closed doors in the planning rooms that orchestrate everything happening. The customer journey or the funnel, whatever you want to call it, is surprisingly simple if you understand this one key idea, because this is how most successful companies consistently build systems that attract, engage, and ultimately keep printing cash. Because in a society full of super consumers, what's shiny today is outdated tomorrow. More options means more decisions. More decisions means our operative system, our brain, becomes overloaded with options and choices, and therefore we become satisfiers rather than optimizers, because we settle for what is good enough rather than what is the best possible choice in the situation, because we are not inclined to find all the necessary information to make the rational decision due to cognitive limitations. So we settle on the information that is readily available at the time of the decision being made. And this may be why there is a constant hunger for more, because we become satisfiers, and the satisfaction is not the fix to the problem. And this is where the key idea is when crafting your funnel, your customer journey, be that your lead generation funnel, sales funnel, whatever your goal is. You have to step out of the consumer mindset for a second and put yourself in the mindset of the people that orchestrate all this, because revenue doesn't flow when you keep piling on motivations. It flows when you first remove the roadblocks to motivation. And for them, more isn't better. They understand that our limited knowledge, or the surplus of information, cognitive capacity, and time constraints paralyze decision making. Instead of choosing the best decision, we settle for what's good enough. And so the secret to a great customer journey is to minimize the thinking required for your customers, because by the time they reach the end of the funnel, buying shouldn't feel like a hard sell. So where do you start? What is that secret idea? And it all begins with research. Like with everything, you need to figure out how to increase motivation by removing roadblocks and not stacking more motivations on top. Because think about the last time someone tried to force you to do something you didn't want to do. You probably ended up resenting it even more. And that's exactly what's happening here. So when people watch David Goggins or other influencers and believe that motivation is something you just add on top and stays, well, they couldn't be further from the truth, because we all know that one moment we're motivated and the next moment it's gone. Right now you might be in a rut, and what do most people do to get that bit of motivation? They go on Instagram, on TikTok, scroll a bit, watch some motivational videos, but that motivation only gets layered over the rut like a mask or a band-aid, and eventually this band-aid will fall off. And the real fix is removing the roadblocks that keep the rut in place in the first place. So if you want to move people through your system, you basically need to start by addressing the roadblocks to motivation. Think of how to remove the roadblocks on the road to get the cars moving and flowing, rather than just calling for random help and flooding the road with more vehicles. But you need to understand that motivation isn't a single thing, but it's a combination of factors of autonomy, of capability, and relatedness, and these three factors are where the biggest roadblocks exist to motivation. So autonomous motivation is important because your strategy and your system needs to ensure the desired behavior you are trying to achieve for your customer is purely self-determined, because we like to think that we are good decision makers. We like to be in control of our lives, or at least a grand illusion of it. And here, when in relation to decision making on your funnel needs to make sure that your customer is given a choice and that they are able to govern their own behavior towards the desired action you want them to take. And this is most effectively done when that desired action is intrinsically driven and not done for a tangible reward or a prize, but rather for self-satisfaction, interest, and enjoyment that benefits oneself, because tangible rewards usually undermine the autonomy, as the action is then seen as extrinsically driven. So what does this specifically look like, you may be thinking? It's about crafting a strategy that matches your customers' profiles, needs, and desires, because you need to understand how they perceive progress and how your product and service can create this illusion of progress. And this can have many shapes or forms. For example, this progress can be in relation to the functional goal of your service that they're trying to achieve, or your customer's social goal, for example, status. And by ticking off these goals, you help to visualize the function and benefit of your service. But more importantly, by focusing on the progress they want to make, you're bridging the gap between possibility, so what could be as a result of your service, and the practicality, which is how will it work and be effective in the real world. And if your funnel helps them to answer this critical question, it's strong validation of its effectiveness. And this ties directly to the concept of autonomy, because it addresses their real world context and reality. And by providing clarity and guidance, you're basically helping them to make the decision themselves, putting the ball in their half of the court. And then there is capability, because you can send them through your funnel, but are they capable or competent enough to go through it, to effectively perform in that environment, to effectively use your service to reach their destination? Essentially, do they have the qualities to perform the task or desired action you want them to take? Because when an individual feels competent, they feel they are able to interact effectively within their environment, and this means with more confidence, and therefore they'll have the skill needed for success to ensure that their goals are reached. However, if the task is too challenging, or a person receives negative feedback, feelings of competence decrease. So how do you measure what affects someone's ability? To go through them simply, first it's time, and if a target behavior requires a lot of time and they don't have the time available, then the behavior would not be simple. And then obviously money comes into play. For people with limited financial resources, a target behavior that costs money is not simple. But in fact, some people will actually simplify their lives by using money to save time. And then there is physical effort, which basically means that if it does require that effort, it is not simple. And then is the mental effort. For example, if performing a target behavior causes us to think hard, that might not be simple. And this is especially true if our minds are consumed with others, because we overestimate how much everyday people want to think, and thinking deeply or thinking in new ways can be difficult. And then there is social deviance. So this means basically going against the norm, breaking the rules of society. If a target behavior requires you to be socially deviant, then that behavior is no longer simple. And the final example is of non-routine. And people tend to find behavior simple if they're already present in their routine or activities they do over and over again. But when people face a behavior that is not in a routine, they may not find it simple to complete. And so the goal is to have the customer believe in their ability to change, because it is a constant battle with their inner self-doubt. So throughout the customer journey, you need to show them they can do it by showing people who have been in their shoes and done it. But more importantly, intrinsically, by making it easy for them to understand and take the next step. But it's important to understand that increasing ability is not about teaching people to do new things or train them for improvement, because people are generally resistant to teaching and training because it requires effort. So instead, what you want to do is to increase the customer's ability to go through the funnel through smart design of persuasive experiences. And this is best done at each key touch point, taking a step back and asking yourself which factor is the scarcest at the time of your prompt, and how do you reduce it or address it at that moment? Because without an individual believing in themselves, chances are that the individual is less likely to give his 100%, even if they're qualified, shaping you to be the person that has not handled the situation well. As at the end of the day, it is you helping them. And if you can't, then the help will be blamed 9 out of 10 times. And therefore, what I recommend is to do a capability test in your nurturing and qualification stages to test your customers' capability to reach their goals, especially for service-based businesses. Because if they are incapable, for example, being too far away from your goal, sometimes you can only help so much, and you cannot be discouraged by that. Because if it's not within your scope, then they are simply not your ideal client, and you need to know your worth. And then finally, there is the relatedness. And this is the ability to feel a sense of belonging to other people but also to the service and the product, because these feelings of relatedness are enhanced when an individual feels respected and today listened to amongst all the noise. And therefore you need to understand that each person has a different ability profile, because some people may spend more time, some people may spend more money, and some can concentrate more than others. And these factors vary from individual to individual, but also vary contextually. So when you are designing your funnel and a decision-making environment, you need to ask yourself at all times, like I've mentioned, what is the scarcest resource at the moment when you want a behavior to be triggered? Is it time? Is it the ability to think? Is it money? Because you can reduce the barriers for performing a target behavior at that moment. And the simplest way to do this, to cut through all the noise, is with simplicity in your customer journey mapping and design, because simplicity provides a clear vision and a roadmap to their desired goal. And people often resist attempts at motivation, but as humans, we naturally love simplicity. So next time you're creating a funnel, begin by removing roadblocks to motivation, and remember to keep it simple and clear. Only then, when you unclog your pipeline, you can begin to add motivations. So if you enjoyed this insight, please like and share, and comment what else you would like to see. So now that you know what's standing in the way, it is time to start increasing your sales, and you want to do it faster, easier, and with no extra effort. It's as simple as clicking the link down below, because there is no time to waste. It's time to get your results in a swift click. Have a good day.